the voice, shrill and scolding. She had a pretty face and a white skin. "Another day," he said, because he could not wait. He had to leave the town. The last twigs broke, and the night became darker under trees. Through the latticing of the leaves, 6 stars came suddenly to view. He stumbled against a tree and leant for a moment against it, allowing his legs to relax. Freed from some of the weight of his body, they seemed to ache more than ever. He tried to pull himself together and remember exactly where he was. No longer in Shoreham, but in a wood. Had he been followed? He listened, hungry for silence, and was rewarded. Had he ever been followed? He had seen Carlion in the bar of the Sussex Pad, but only in the mirror behind the harlot's head. Carlion had been standing sideways to him and was ordering a drink. Unless Carlion saw him leave, he was safe. What a fool he had been to leave so suddenly. He should have gone quietly out and taken the girl with him. Fool, 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 fool. The word droned on in his mind, a sleepy and mechanical reiteration. His eyes closed, then opened with a start as a twig broke under his own foot. He might have been asleep now in a comfortable bed, all the more comfortable for being shared. She was pretty and had a good skin. He didn't suppose he would have been asleep. He woke again 2 minutes later, feeling cold. He had dreamed that he was again in the bar, looking in the mirror at Carlion's face, and in the dream the face had begun to turn. But was it only in the dream? He could not stay here, and again he began to run, very stumblingly because of the roots of the trees. Oh, but he was tired. 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 His wrist was hurting and felt damp and weak, slashed by the thorns in the hedge. If Carlion had suddenly appeared now in front of him, he would have thrown himself down on his knees and cried. Carlion wouldn't do anything. Carlion was a gentleman, like himself, and one could always appeal to Carlion's sense of humour. "Hello, Carlion, old man. It's ages since I've seen you. Have you heard this one, Carlion, old chap? Carlion. 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 And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. How dare you teach my boy that stuff?" And then he'd beaten her. His father had always talked of him as my boy, as though his mother had not borne the pain. The damned old hypocritical bully. Please God, give me a bear. He hadn't wanted a live puppy, which needed looking after. Am I going to faint? He asked himself. What's this wood doing? Why a wood? Hansel and Gretel. There should be a cottage soon with a witch in it, and the cottage should be made of sugar. I'm so hungry, he said aloud. I can't wait for Gretel. But inside himself he knew only too certainly that there was no Gretel. He and Gretel had kissed under the holly tree on the common one spring day. Across a faintly coloured sky a few plump clouds had tumbled recklessly. And then time and again he was walking up narrow stairs to small rooms and untidy beds, and walking down again feeling dissatisfied, because he had never found Gretel there. How curious everything was. And now, this wood. He saw a light glimmering in front at what seemed an infinite distance, and he began to run, remembering that Carlion might be somewhere behind him in the dark. He had to get on. Get on. Get on. His feet stumbled, and every stumble sent a shoot of pain up his arm to the shoulder, starting from his torn wrist. But not a stumble brought the light nearer. It shone mockingly ahead, very small and sharp, and immeasurably knowing. It was as though the world had heaved upward, like a ship in a rough sea, and brought a star to its own lamp's level. But as distant and as inaccessible as the star was the light. He was almost on top of the light before he realized that its smallness was due to size and not to distance. The grey stones of a cottage suddenly hunched themselves up between the trees. To the man raising his head to see the ramshackle bulk, it was as though the uneven, knobbled shoulders of the place had shrugged themselves from the earth. The cottage had but one floor above the ground, and the window with which it faced the wood was of thick glass, slightly tinted, like the glass of liquor bottles. The stones of the place gave the impression of having been too hastily and